We're out of the White Bear Lake studio, and to get our special guest that we have on today, we had to pre-shoot this, which is perfectly fine with me. So usually it's a call-in show, not today. But this show will also be played in St. Paul, Stillwater, and surrounding communities at later dates. Today, why this is a special edition is because we have 3 candidates running for the St. Paul School Board. And we have Liz Paulson with us, Ken Huppenbecker, and Pat Igoe. And now, you may say, I don't live in St. Paul, so why should I watch this show? And I will tell you, the reason you need to watch the show is because the issues that are brought up here affect all school districts, and are conversations and discussions that are going all across the state in every school district that's out there. And so you need to, if you want to gain more information, this is a good place to get a good summary of what's going on in the St. Paul Public Schools, but also may be affecting your area too, and you may find out something here that you didn't know that could be affecting your public schools to where you're at, or even your private schools. There are issues you may need to know about that this will be the only place you hear about it. So with that, I want to introduce you to the guest today, and the St. Paul School Board candidates, 3 of them anyway. So on the left here we have Liz Paulson, and then in the middle Ken Huppenbecker.
Kevin, Tim.
Kevin. Why I keep calling you Ken? I don't know.
Sure.
I can't read. I need to go back to school. No. And then Pat Igoe. And I appreciate very much for you being here. Now, what we are going to discuss today is how the format's going to work. I'm just going to ask some questions, and one person will answer that question, and the other 2 will kind of join in that discussion, and I may ask some follow-up questions depending on whatever they say. So I hope you enjoy. So the first question here, and you know, people start out usually asking the question, well, why you're running? Well, I don't want to ask that. I kind of want to ask that in a different way. And why do you think it's important for you to run for the St. Paul Public School Board? And let's start with Liz on this one.
The school board is to represent the broader interest of the community. It's supposed to represent everyone in that community. It is a nonpartisan position. And when a board becomes myopic and it's no longer hearing from members of the community, so they're actively leaving a school district, then it becomes important for somebody who can represent those communities, or who has attuned to their voices, or is not invested in a special interest to the point where they cannot hear those voices, to join in. And so as a mom, as a teacher who is for the students first and making sure that it works, and for the parents who've left the district because the school wasn't listening to them, or the principals weren't supporting them, or the special education department wasn't effective, or their kids weren't learning, or because they had bullying in the schools. Those are voices that need to be heard, and quite frankly, our common sense taxpayers need to be heard too.
Okay, Kevin, why are you running for school board?
Well, I think one thing that our school board lacks is representation by parents. Right now we have a school board that lacks that type of representation. As a parent, a very involved parent over the last 8 years in St. Paul Public Schools, there have been many decisions that the board has made where parents like myself were asking, how did they come up with this? This doesn't make any sense. So in part I'm running because I believe we need more parents on the school board. We also need to represent parents and teachers and get those decision makers involved in the decisions that we're making in our schools. And too often they're left out. And that's why I'm running. We need to let parents have as much input into how the schools are being run as what some of the special interests have right now.
So Pat, why do you feel the need to run for the school board?
Well, Kenley, as you mentioned, this is St. Paul. I love St. Paul. It's my hometown. I'm a native there. And there's been 3 generations of my family that have gone through and got a wonderful education with the public school system. I live in St. Paul, so I keep up with the news daily, and I keep up with what's going on in the neighborhood. And when I see what's going on with our public schools, especially, you know, my alma mater, I can, in the recent scores that came out in English and reading and the science, you know, those basic things that students need. I just, my grandchildren are in the public schools today in St. Paul, and so I had to make a choice. Do I save up enough money and send them through private schools, or do I get in the race and run for the St. Paul School Board and see if I can't make a difference and help and some guidance and some counsel and some wisdom to start closing this achievement gap and getting those students lined up to enter the public schools. The other thing is the enrollment's dropping off, and you know, as a citizen, I don't like to see that.
All right, Mr. Hoopenbecker, what qualifications do you think you bring to the table for the school board that may be missing or may be there, or just why you think you have an advantage?
Well, I have over 8 years of experience working on both site-based committees. I've been the chair of the site council at Chelsea Heights Elementary for 4 years, also the co-chair of the Murray Parent Association. So I have that connection with parents, working with teachers, working with principals, in order to get things done in the schools to benefit our kids. And on the other hand, I've also had the experience of being the chair of the Budget and Finance Advisory Committee at the school district level. So I've also had a chance to work with administrators and even the school board on certain issues. So I have that wide range of experience from the school level to the district level. And I think what we also need to have is someone who brings some new ideas. I think the board has gotten too isolated from teachers and parents, the people who are experiencing the decisions that they're making day in and day out. And we need to have someone with that perspective on the school board.
Mrs. Paulson, what qualifications do you bring to the school board?
Well, almost every day of the academic school year, I'm in the school. I'm currently a professional reading tutor at the Eastside Learning Center, one of the organizations that was brought in to help our struggling students in the schools failing No Child Left Behind who are not receiving additional services and probably, in most cases, don't have the resources to get them. And it's a successful program. I absolutely adore going into school every day, knowing that I'm making a difference and seeing the results, seeing their reading levels go up above what it would if I was in the classroom. So that's significant. I wanted those programs, those partnerships to be strengthened, duplicated, replicated. And my background as a teacher is in elementary ed, but it's also in emotional behavior disorders and learning disabilities. And there are effective remedial programs and effective readiness programs that prevent so many of the special ed costs that aren't effective. I want to make sure that we are giving teachers the best tools, the best training, and that our money is being driven by effective curriculum and by what students need. And if I can save costs in other areas by identifying and keeping that vision in mind, that the students come first and that community involvement comes first. I mean, you go to the community first when you're doing an advisory team. You systematically and very intentionally make sure that you have a system in place so that every single person in this community has a voice. And as school board members, you are actively participating in the daily life of your community. The other thing, besides an educational background and being in the schools and having dedicated almost 30 years of my life to educating kids, is that I'm blessed with a husband and a family who have been what I lovingly would call community servants. I'm the daughter of a home missions American Indian white pastor. My parents grew up teaching us the value of hard work, servanthood, and honesty. And my mother, when I was only 3 years old, started a school for American Indian kids so that they wouldn't have to go 50 miles to a boarding school. They gave me the example of service and what it means to enjoy your fellow people and to respect them and to make sure that all cultures are represented at the table, if we want to raise the achievement in our schools and fulfill our democratic mission, then we have to do that. So my ethnic background, my experiences, my principles by which I live, and my educational experience qualify me.
All right, thank you. Mr. Igo, what do you bring to the St. Paul
Well,
School
the most
Board?
important thing to me, Kenley, is my grandchildren. My grandchildren are students in the St. Paul Public Schools, so I have a vested interest. And my background is I've sold residential real estate, had a successful career in residential real estate the past 37 years. And with that, I've served on a lot of boards and commissions, both in my industry and for the City of St. Paul. I'm mostly proud of being appointed to the St. Paul Heritage Preservation Commission, along with the St. Paul Business Review Council. And I'm the past president of the Landmark Center, the volunteers at the Landmark Center. You know, we give guided tours in downtown St. Paul. So I think that my experience in the business, and I'm a fiscal conservative, and I think that's one of the heirs of our current operation down there. And so I think that's my qualifications. I have a vested interest. It's my grandchildren, and I'm looking out for the future. And I want to be concerned that not only my grandchildren, but everybody else who's in the city of St. Paul get a good, fair education for their children.
All right. Well, now we're going to get in.
I don't know if it's possible to kind of add in
Sure.
add in an aside on that, but if we think about what the mission of a school board is, maybe one of the primary qualities that you need to have that among the three candidates I think is well represented is that you need to be a good listener. I've had conversations with these gentlemen, and they are good listeners. All of us prioritize listening to the community. All of us ask our ethnic leaders, ask our people who are in our communities every day using our services or not, how they would solve the problems. And I think that it is that grassroots common sense wisdom that we need. To me, if you're going to represent your community, you better be listening to them first.
Well, listening is a good part of my business for the past 37 years in sales. I was told, remember one thing, you know, you have 2 ears for a purpose and only 1 mouth. So
yeah,
appreciate that.
And to remember too that a primary job function of a school board member is to create policy. So that policy is supposed to represent all those voices, even the ones that you might not be most comfortable listening to. It is to listen to them, to get their input, and then try to synergize a response that moves our school district, in the direction of sustainability and effective mission. We are supposed to be giving a good education to kids, so we need to hear these voices. We might think of another solution or a synergistic response that we hadn't thought of before.
Well, and listening isn't one of the strong points of this current board. I remember going down with a group of parents a couple of years ago when they were going to eliminate the itinerant music program in elementary schools. Large group of parents went down to address the board on this issue. Board members didn't have time for us. I remember one board member coming in to the meeting we were trying to talk with, and she didn't have time to talk to us because she had a headache. And that's something that we need to change. Board members do need to listen to parents, listen to teachers, listen to principals.
Well, that begs a question that I think every public school, or every school district, any organization basically has to deal with, especially government. Who drives the policy? Who should drive the policy? Should the school board be driving the policy for the superintendent? Or should the superintendent be driving the policies for the school board? Who should be telling what to do, or should it be a combination of both? How is it currently happening in the St. Paul Public Schools, and or how is it perceived? You know, it's kind of a wide open question there, but what is going on? And so let's start with Pat, Mr. Igo, on that question.
Sure. Well, years ago, Kenley, as I said, I grew up in St. Paul. I remember that St. Paul School Board consisted of, and all my siblings were in the St. Paul Public Schools, it consisted of businessmen and bankers and people in the retail business and people that have vested interest in the city of St. Paul and the students and education. And now it consists of mainly full-time career politicians, you know, that